What if I told you that one man, living over 2,300 years ago, shaped the very foundation of how we think, learn, and understand the world today? This isn't just a story about ancient philosophy or dusty scrolls. It's the story of a mind that changed the world. This is who Aristotle really was. Aristotle was born in 384 BC in the small Greek town of St. His father, Nicomachus, was a physician to the Macedonian royal family, meaning Aristotle grew up surrounded by both medical knowledge and the political elite of his time. But tragedy struck early. Both of his parents died when he was still a child. Left orphaned, Aristotle was sent to Athens at the age of 17, where he would join Plato's academy, one of the most famous centers of learning in the ancient world. For the next 20 years, Aristotle would study under Plato himself. But this wasn't a simple student-teacher relationship. Aristotle respected Plato deeply, but he also challenged him. While Plato believed in a world of perfect, unchanging forms, Aristotle was obsessed with the real world, with observation, logic, and empirical evidence. Plato looked to the heavens for answers. Aristotle looked at the ground beneath his feet. When Plato died, many expected Aristotle to take over the academy, but that didn't happen. Aristotle's views were too different, too radical. So he left Athens and began a new chapter of his life. For years, Aristotle traveled across the Greek world, studying plants, animals, and the natural world in ways no one had done before. He wasn't just sitting in a room thinking. He was outside, dissecting animals, observing the stars, categorizing plants, and asking the kinds of questions most people didn't even think to ask. But his life would take another dramatic turn when he received a call from a powerful king, Philip II of Macedonia. Philip had a young son, a boy named Alexander. You might know him today as Alexander the Great. That's right. Aristotle became the personal tutor of the future conqueror of the known world. For several years, Aristotle taught young Alexander about philosophy, politics, ethics, science, and logic. Some historians even believe that Aristotle's teachings directly influenced Alexander's leadership style and world-conquering ambition. But Aristotle's impact wasn't limited to just one student. After his time in Macedon, Aristotle returned to Athens and founded his own school. Unlike Plato's academy, which focused on abstract philosophy, the Lyceum was all about practical knowledge and observation. Aristotle and his students would walk through the school's gardens as they discussed everything from biology to politics to the meaning of life. This style of teaching became so iconic that even today, the term peripatetic, meaning walking around, is used to describe his method. But what exactly did Aristotle do that was so revolutionary? Let's break it down. Aristotle is often called the father of Western philosophy, but that title barely scratches the surface. He wrote about logic, inventing systems of reasoning that we still use today. In fact, his works on syllogistic logic remained the dominant form of logic until the 19th century. He categorized plants and animals in one of the first attempts at biological classification. He studied ethics, asking questions like, what makes a good life? He explored politics, arguing that humans are political animals, and that community is essential to human nature. He even wrote about physics, astronomy, psychology, and rhetoric. For Aristotle, there was no topic too big or too small. If it existed, it was worth studying. But here's where things get even more fascinating. Much of what we know about Aristotle today comes from lecture notes, not polished books. His surviving works often read like rough drafts or outlines, full of fragmented thoughts and unfinished arguments. And yet, from these imperfect texts, emerged the foundations of modern science, logic, and philosophy. But Aristotle's story doesn't end with his teachings. After Alexander the Great died, anti-Macedonian sentiment grew in Athens. Because of his ties to Macedon, Aristotle became a political target. Fearing for his life, he fled the city, reportedly saying he wouldn't let Athens sin twice against philosophy, a reference to the execution of Socrates decades earlier. Aristotle died in exile in 322 BC, but his ideas lived on. For centuries, his works were studied, debated, and preserved by scholars across the world from the Islamic Golden Age to the European Renaissance. Without Aristotle, we wouldn't have the scientific method, or the logical frameworks used in every field from mathematics to law. Even today, his influence can be seen in the writings of great thinkers like Thomas Aquinas, Galileo, and even Einstein. Aristotle didn't just ask questions. He laid the blueprint for how humanity seeks answers. So the next time you wonder why we question things, why we study, why we look for logic and meaning in the world around us, remember this. One man, over 2,000 years ago, helped teach us how to think. And that is who Aristotle really was. If you enjoyed this deep dive into history, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Who Really Was for more hidden stories of the world's most influential figures.